What is up guys, Andy Forresty Runner here, and today I'm going to be sharing with you guys my top 5 tips on how I'm going to be training this spring. So the purpose of this video is to hopefully give you guys some motivation or some ideas of what you can incorporate into your training this spring and potentially summer. We're obviously living in crazy times right now, and it will be very foolish of me in this hopefully positive video to not just mention and say that my thoughts go out to everybody that has been affected by the COVID-19 virus. It's absolutely horrific. The government last night put the UK on lockdown, but the government also recognised it's super important for us to get out and keep active, so they're allowing one piece of exercise a day, whether that's walking, cycling or running. And if we are sensible and we socially distance ourselves and we get up at 6:15 in the morning to empty trails, then we should do so. It is so important for our mental health. Being crammed in a house all day is not our idea of fun, but we roll with the times. And so this video, as I said, is hopefully going to provide you guys with some motivation and some tips that you might want to consider in your training this spring. So without further ado, let's jump in to number 1. Okay, so my first tip is going to be utilise this first initial few weeks as a great time to base build. I know a lot of people are saying it, I've said it already. It is such a crucial time to not push our bodies, especially in the UK here, while the virus is literally on a massive crescendo. We're nowhere near where it's going to get to, and playing it safe is the most sensible thing we can do. And ultimately, base building is something that I know a lot of you, and me included, don't do as much as we should. In 5 and a bit years of running, I have only base built 2 or 3 times, so it's just not good enough. And every time I've done it at the beginning of a training block, I have run the best races of my life. Most recently the 2:02 at Gloucester and the 1:17 at Gloucester Half. So base building all the way. It's going to help when we are getting to the point where we're ready to introduce workouts, and then also it's going to help our mental health and not to run us down too much. I have a newborn baby, so certainly not one to be pushing myself at the moment. Number 2 is going to be working on our weaknesses, in particular our strength work. All the gyms here in the UK are now shut, and I'm sure they probably are in the countries that you guys are in. So let me let you in on a little secret and make sure no one's listening. No, we're good. Hills are great for strength work. I'm sure you've never heard that before. So what I'm going to be doing, halfway through my base phase, I'm on week 2 this week, halfway through, I'm going to start throwing in a hill workout a week. I did it before the Gloucester 20. I did 4 weeks worth of hill work in my base phase, and I did a couple of hill workouts in the actual plan itself. And my word, when I hit those hills on Gloucester 20, I felt as strong as an ox, and the hills are my weakness. So I will be carrying on working those hills during the base phase and during any training phase that's coming up, which we'll talk about in point 3, training phases. But for now, we just need to use this time to work on our weaknesses. We have no set goals straight ahead of us in terms of races, so let's utilise this time to build on the things that we're not very good at. So that leads me on to point 3, which is, as I just alluded to, training phases. I am going to be phasing my training as I would normally. In my head, I need to carry on as if things are happening, and what I will do is talk to you in point 4 about how I'm going to cap off those training phases. But for the moment, what I'm going to be doing is base building, as I just said, for a few weeks, and then from there I will jump into some 10k training, and I will do a structured block of 10k training. Now, when I get into that block, depending on how the epidemic is and the virus is spreading, if it's still on the rise, if it's still ravaging the UK, I will only be doing one workout a week. We must be so careful not to deplete our immune systems. We must be so careful to keep on top of our health. So it won't be the most hardcore training block I've ever done, but it's going to be a good training block, and I will get one decent workout in a week of 10k training, shorter interval work, and then at the end of each training block, well, we'll talk about that in point 4, and then from there I will move on in the summer to some half marathon training, and then leading into the autumn, as per my video the other day, to a marathon training block, in the hopes that the country is recovering and maybe some autumn marathons are indeed on the cards. So that's my plan for the training phases. So point number 4 is going to be all about capping off those training blocks with some time trials. I mentioned time trials in my video the other day, and yes, I will be doing a fair few of them, but I was pretty keen on doing a fair few of them in quite a short proximity, so that's not going to happen. I think, again, because of my immune system, and time trials will take a lot out of you, I'm going to be sensible and spread them out. So my plan of attack is in the base building phase. Over the next 2 or 3 weeks, I'm going to do a time trial. I haven't decided exactly which one yet, and then from there, when we jump into 10k training, probably quite near the beginning, I will do a 5k time trial just to see where my shorter distance speed is at, and then of course we'll cap that block off with a 10k time trial. From there, when we jump into half marathon training, I will then look to do another time trial, whether that's another 10k one at the beginning or a 10 miler, something in the beginning, and then one at the end. So I'm planning to try and do 2 time trials per block, if you see what I'm getting at, and that's going to be the goal, is not to just bash out a load of time trials week after week, just to be sensible. So we want those training blocks to come to fruition, and we want to feel like they have done us some good. Time trials are certainly going to make us feel like they've done us some good, because it's just going to simulate what we do in a race. And I love time trials. I've done enough of them around here. I've run my own marathon, half marathon, 10k's, 5k's, you name it, I've done it, and I love it. You don't need a race to have fun, and that's certainly going to be the case with these time trials. Okay, so the 5th and final point that I want to make is I have a little mantra, and it's not going to get in the way of my training, but basically that is that I want to be fitter than 90% of those people when we rock up to that start line on that first race, when we all are allowed out of this quarantine. For me personally, I want to keep working, I want to keep grinding. This running don't stop just because of a virus. If we're allowed to run and we're being sensible, like I am, out stupid o'clock in the morning, then I will work hard, and I will work harder than most people out there to make sure that when I get to that start line, I'm in as best shape possible. On the flip side of that, just as a side note, I will not push myself unnecessarily during these training blocks. I will not go to town just for the sake of what I've written down or what I've set. We of course might go into a full lockdown where they take away the privilege of being able to exercise once a day, in which case all this goes out the window, and that's going to be down to the idiots that carry on life as normal without respecting what needs to happen. But I can assure you that if we are sensible, if we are safe, and if we respect what people are telling us to do, then we will come out this other side stronger. And if you keep training sensibly, don't put too much pressure on yourself, but do put some kind of structure in place, then I guarantee that you will also hit those start lines in far better shape than so many people out there. So there we go, those are my top 5 tips for what I'm going to be doing during this spring and probably summer training. I hope you guys can maybe draw some inspiration, relate to, or comment down below, let me know what your motivation is going to be during this tough time. But we all have to stick together, pull together, draw inspiration off each other. You guys might watch these videos and appreciate them, but trust me, when I'm on social media and I see your runs and what you're doing in the FOD Runner Strava group and all of that. I draw inspiration from you. We are in this together. We will get through it together. Ignore the social media scaremongering, listen to the facts, and let's have each other's backs during this tough time. So I can assure you there's going to be some awesome content coming your way over the next few weeks. The clocks are changing this weekend, and that means more trail time, more trail action, and there's going to be some workout videos coming your way with those hill workouts that I told you about during my base building phase, and then leading into 10k and half marathon training. I will certainly be recording the workouts that I do there. So that's it for today's video, guys. If you enjoyed it, please do give it a like, share it with your friends, subscribe to the channel for weekly running content, all of that good stuff, and I will see you on the next one. Until then,